Well, we talked about what series coming up the Diamondbacks have that is going to be a tough test. It's this one that starts today against the Cleveland Guardians. Let's take a look at their season so far. They do have the best record in Major League Baseball at 67-44. They have a plus 85 run differential. They are 6-4 in their last 10. Starting pitching ERA, not great. 4.55, 24th in baseball, Major League Baseball. Of course, their relief pitching, outstanding. They have the best bullpen in all of baseball. Starting pitching ERA is 4.55. Relief pitching ERA 2.60. Their team OPS is 714, and they have 3 outs above average. The Guardians are one of those teams that, especially with that starting pitching ERA, you would not suspect them to have the best record in baseball, but that top of the lineup is very, very good for the Guardians.
Yeah, the Guardians have a strong lineup for sure, good offense, and as you said, the bullpen is just insane. The Guardians are very strong evidence that you can win without good starting pitching. Like if you give up a few runs in the first few innings of a game, you're fine as long as the back 4 or 5 innings are just like all zeros every single time. And that's basically what the Guardians do. I mean, you look at their bullpen. They have Emmanuel Clase A, of course, is well known as one of the best closers in baseball. He has a 0.70 ERA this season. Cade Smith, in his first season in the big leagues, has a 1.86 ERA because that is just what the Guardians do. Hunter Gaddis has a 1.38 ERA, has also been a big part of the back end of that bullpen, another righty. And then they have a lefty, Tim Herron, who's the only member of the Guardians bullpen who is above the age of 30. It's a pretty young group.
Wow.
He has a 1.83 ERA. As their go-to lefty. So you got 4 back-end relievers with sub 2 ERAs. That's going to put you in a pretty good spot. Also, I think it's funny if you go to the Guardians 2024 page on Baseball Reference, it shows like pictures of all the top WAR contributors for the season, and 3 of the top 7 Guardians players by WAR are relievers, which is not a normal thing. You don't usually see relievers contributing as much as guys who are playing in every single game, or starting pitchers who are throwing way more innings. So this is one of the best bullpens that it's not just the best bullpen this year. It's one of the best bullpens that we've seen in baseball in probably quite a while.
Putting these graphics together was wild.
It's wild.
Like
right?
I was like, okay, so they must be really good at hitting, and it's like, yeah, they're pretty good at hitting.
Yeah,
they're not that good, but they're above average.
What it is,
slightly.
the top of their lineup is very, very good, and then the bottom of their lineup isn't. So like their overall team numbers aren't that great, but when you look at, you got Josh Naylor, who has a 126 OPS plus, 816 OPS. Jose Ramirez, a 140 OPS plus, 870 OPS. The man almost has 100 RBI already this season.
Yeah.
He's at 93 RBI with 29 home runs. You got Stephen Kwan at a 145 OPS plus, 874 OPS, and David Fry at a 133 OPS plus with an 828 OPS. That is 4 players at the top of your lineup that all have an above 800 OPS, and that is it. I mean, those guys are going to continue to hurt you throughout the game, and then if they can get into their bullpen will shut you down. You will not score against their bullpen, and I'm really interested to see what the Diamondbacks, how they match up against this Guardians team. They are a very good early scoring team. The Diamondbacks are the best early scoring team in all of baseball.
Yeah.
And of course, if they can put up some runs, early and kind of get some key pitching, I think that they have a chance here against the Guardians with kind of the way that their weaknesses are starting pitching. And, of course, the Diamondbacks' weakness at times has been good bullpens. So it's like they better score early and try to maintain a lead, because they won't be the answer backs in this series, most likely.
Yeah, you also, Jose Ramirez, like, he's a superstar, but especially right now, it feels like a time where you just really don't want to let Ramirez beat you. He is 9 for 23 with 5 homers and 11 RBI in his last 6 games. So he has been on an absolute tear lately. Josh Naylor has pretty good numbers lately as well. Stephen Kwan's taken a bit of a step back. He was hitting nearly 400, it felt like, not that long ago. Those numbers have cooled a bit, still having an outstanding season. David Fry was really, really good for the first couple months. Has kind of fallen off a little since then. The Guardians also added Lane Thomas at the trade deadline. They got him from the Nationals. Thomas hasn't hit a whole lot for the Guardians so far, 511 OPS, but that's just over 5 games. So Yeah, it's an interesting team. Like it's not exactly what you're picturing when you're thinking of the best team in baseball. Like it is also just crazy in and of itself that the Guardians are the best team in baseball right now. Even though like I didn't have them making the playoffs, if I'm remembering correctly. They obviously didn't last year. Last year was a pretty disappointing season for them. But yeah, again, if you just have an insanely good bullpen that maintains leads anytime you have them, and your offense is good enough to give you some leads early in games, even if the starting pitching isn't great, you can win a lot of baseball games that way. And that's what the Guardians have done.
There's one thing that perplexes me about their defense, Jesse, is how do they have 11 outs above average, or I'm sorry, 3 outs above average for 11th in all Major League Baseball? But then they have 68 defensive runs saved, which that's most in Major League Baseball. Like, what is going on there?
Yeah, I'd have to look into that a little deeper. Yeah, they like far and away lead the league in defensive runs saved.
Right, it's not even close. It's not even close.
Yeah, I don't really know what to do with that, honestly. I have to look a little closer. There are some differences in the stats. Like DRS will include throwing arms. That would be one difference, whereas OA does not take that into consideration. They have some different ways of calculating things as well, but usually they agree with each other more or less.
Yeah, DRS would be like spectacular plays, right? And plays that you shouldn't essentially be making, right? Or hard plays to make, defensive runs save. I get this statistic is like actually literally saving runs, but like overall it's it's a weird category. It's a weird stat, just like outs above average. And most teams don't have nearly that many. Just like outs above average, I think that the Milwaukee Brewers have a fairly substantial lead above everybody else in that category, right? So it's like, I don't know.
Ernesto makes a great point. Sounds like a team the Yankees would just destroy in the playoffs. 100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
An AL Central team
that has the best record in baseball.
Oh,
yeah.
Twins fans get it.
There were a couple of questions in there about Dan Herron to Tim Herron. No, Tim Herron's name is spelled quite different. It's Herrin, so no relation there to Dan Herron. But speaking of pitchers, let's take a look at the probable pitchers for this series and how the Diamondbacks match up. Yes, folks, that's Eduardo Rodriguez there, lined up for the second game of this series. Allegedly. We'll see. I want to see him on the mound and actually pitching before I believe any of this. But Zach Gallen kicks things off in game 1 versus Logan Allen.
Not that Logan Allen. The other Logan Allen, who also has spent time with the Cleveland Guardians early in his career.
Correct.
Not confusing at all. They're both lefties.
It's very confusing. It's very confusing. Eduardo Rodriguez matches up with Ben Lively, and then you have Brandon Pfaadt versus Carlos Carrasco in the finale. This looks beautiful to me. I could stare at this for hours, Jesse. Just the idea of seeing Zach Gallen, Erod, and Brandon Pfaadt together as 1, 2, 3 in a series. It's hot. That's hot.
Erod, like the pose that Erod is making in this.
Look at that face. Look at that face. That man is dialed in. Zach Gallen is just happy to be here, right? But Erod is going to beat that entire rotation by himself.
Brandon Pfaadt looks like he's posing for his first day of school.
Yeah, for sure.
And then Erod looks like me walking into the studio today after my San Diego trip. Just walked in.
Connor's claiming that game 2 is blank. You know what you see there, Connor. It's real.
Technically, it is blank. Technically, the D-backs still have it as TBD, but we all know that Erod is a scheduled starter that day. People have already reported.
If you're Carlos Carrasco, you got to be pissed at Logan Allen, right?
Why?
I mean, look at the record difference with the ERAs.
Yeah.
I would be maybe not Logan Allen, but pissed at the Guardians offense.
Yeah.
Like, what's up, guys?
Yeah, that happens.
Logan Allen goes 8-4. I have a better season than him, and I'm 3-9.
Yeah,
the fact that the best team in baseball, or the team with the best record in baseball, is still throwing Carlos Carrasco at 37 years old out there every 5th day is pretty wild to me. He's at minus 1.1 B-WAR for this season. I will say on Erod, like, we're going to do a post-game show tomorrow after that game, which I'm excited for. I'm excited that we're going to be live after his first start of the season. It's going to be so interesting, Derek. I do not really have a great sense of what to expect in this game. Oh. He is going straight from the Arizona Complex League, a sim game environment, which we think went well. We don't really have any numbers of any kind from that outing. So, I mean, going straight from that to the big leagues with no rehab assignment, like he has not pitched in a normal game environment in months. I mean, even spring training doesn't really count as that. And he didn't look super sharp in spring training at times. So it's going to be fascinating to see what happens tomorrow with Erod.
And I don't understand that. Like, I don't know if that's a team decision, if that's a personal decision for the pitcher. It
sounds like Erod very much pushed to do it this way.
Okay.
Yeah. Which he just talked about how he liked pitching in the heat. He thought that would be a good like physical challenge for him, which seems odd to me. I haven't enjoyed like walking from the parking lot into the grocery store, but
you're pitching in the Arizona Complex League. How much more heat can you take out there in Salt River Fields in July? I don't know, but I am here for it. I am here for him making that face on the graphic, and I'm hopefully here for him being a big part of this starting rotation because, man, this team is already hot. I mean, can you imagine them being hotter, more dangerous than they are, getting some more series sweeps just than the 2 that they got this year? I don't know, but of course now would be a great time for them to get a starting pitcher of his caliber, at least his past, back because, man, I mean, they could really use it considering how unstable some of their spots in their rotation have been.